Hey guys, the podcast will always be free. If you go into the description or the top comment, there's a locals, a Patreon, a buy me a coffee, a Cash App, a PayPal. Legitimately, $1 a month makes the world of a difference. And I know you're thinking, no, it doesn't. It literally does. It keeps the show going. It's why it's so free flowing and hectic and frankly unprofessional and vulgar, but it's the reason why it's free and why it's fun. Please, if you can, donate $1. Thank you. We are recording on Thursday, January 29th, 2026, 12:07 p.m. Eastern Time. Tom Luongo is not with us yet. He's receiving his orders from Bibi Netanyahu. Jim just confirmed that with us. But we're just saying
He's eating word salad at home
he
for
is.
lunch.
He's out getting his shekels and his checks and his directives from the Zionists. But we were just saying Jim is a little more hesitant to go into conspiracies, whereas Dave and I we're rabid to jump down any hole. But Dave made a good point. Is the both far ends, the fact checkers that there's nothing ever conspiratorial going on, are just as bad as the perpetual it's all rigged, because what they both are is an abandonment of any rational thought.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
You
Sure.
have a doctrine and then you're following. It's all state, it's all the state narrative, or it's all strings being pulled, and that's just not what it is. It sometimes it's fair and
The
sometimes it's
bell
not.
curve. It's a bell curve.
It-
I searched I asked Grok, is Michael Shermer, the anti-conspiracy guy, on payroll for any organization? Grok took that a step further and said there is no credible evidence that Michael Shermer is on payroll for any shadow organization. I just asked if he's on payroll.
Well, so all right, so
So
that would make
Grok
me
took
say
it further.
yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, it's making inferences, interestingly.
Founder of the Skeptic Society, a 501c3.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that tells me that tells me that he is out there to just iron
He's
over
a grift.
any wrinkles.
He's just grifting. He's just making
He's
money.
he's the LARP grifting.
Yeah, and he's the founder of Skeptic Magazine.
Well,
Now,
there you
here's
go.
the problem I have with
that's what he's
debunkers.
that's the institution that is supporting him, or at least that's his baseline. So you know that
That's right.
you know
That's his
if
TPUSA. That's his
yeah, if he's
TPUSA.
attached to Skeptic magazine, he's got to be a skeptic all the time.
And the problem I have with that is like when some of us shoot down rabbit holes, I believe we're saying this could be a fucked up story, but I'm going to find out. He starts out with the premise that it is fucked up, that it's not fucked up. He starts out with the conclusion and then goes to prove it.
Uh-huh.
He never comes out saying, "Oh, that's correct." He just drops that. I guess if he.
Isn't that basically casuistry?
What is that? That's a Google word right there.
What is it?
Well,
Casuistry.
it's a Catholic reasoning mode of reasoning from your conclusions to
Yeah.
the cause.
It's certainly that. I've never heard the word
Never heard
casuist.
that
Is that a
word.
real word or is
Yeah,
that
it's not. It's CASU. It's not.
Okay.
It's not like a kazoo, like the
Yeah.
little party instrument that you play.
the word I really like? I got to say this. The word I really like is the soil, which is to forgive, but it's spelled ASSOIL.
Never heard of it.
Right. I got it from word emails that I used to get daily for new vocabulary words, and I'd open them. But I'm thinking, ASSOIL. That spells ass oil, my guys. Okay. And so I put it up one day, and I said a soil, and I said verb to forgive, noun, the oil on Gavin Newsom's head.
I use some interesting words, as a common practice, but not because I'm trying to show off or grandstand, but because they are often, and I often avoid them if they're really, really antique anachronisms. If they're really, really just discarded, obsolete words. But as Mark Twain said, the difference
How do you
between
spell casuistry again? I got it.
CASUISTRY. Do I
Okay.
win the spelling bee on that?
The difference between the right word and the wrong word is lightning.
Yeah,
And lightning
Mark Twain
bug.
said the difference between the right word and the wrong word is a difference between lightning and a lightning bug.
Oh, yeah, I love
And,
that quote.
I really like to find a word that expresses exactly what I'm trying to say. Exactly. And the more
Synonyms are
exact.
rare. Synonyms are rare. Real synonyms, right?
Mhm.
There's similarities, but when I go to a synonym finder, many of them don't cut it.
They're just a little off. A little, they're off.
Shakespeare used 40% of the word Shakespeare used once. That's
Wow.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, the English language is unbelievably rich, but it does prompt me to wonder whether other languages are equally rich. And I simply don't know because I'm not a linguist. I kind of imagine that Russian is pretty rich, but I don't know for sure.
Well, I've read by audio, which is the best way to do this, a ton of linguistics. And
Uh-huh.
my fave is John McWhorter. If I want to do audiobook linguistics, John McWhorter is the man.
Mhm.
And the longer a language has been isolated, the more complex it gets. And so
Wow.
you shave off the complexity. Like when you're some Northern English, Scottish dame and you find yourself married to a Viking somewhat against your will. Know, you simplify the language. You say, "Oh, whatever, good enough." You fucking northerner, and that therefore chops a lot of very subtle linguistic traits off because the guy can't do it,
Yeah.
right? And whereas the click languages are supposedly very complicated.
You mean the African click
Yeah,
languages? Where they go?
I think Indonesia, yeah, certainly out in the middle of nowhere, click languages. Those are supposedly phenomenally complicated.
Yeah, they have like 137 words for pelican.
Right.
Doesn't seem
I
to do him
use
any
in my
well.
class a being limited by language, where I said there's a tribe that says that had three numbers, one, two, and many. And I say to the class, you're limited by language. They were never going to invent calculus.
Yeah.
Oh, I have 137 words for trader.
Oh,
So,
there's the man.
For trader? What did
you
you
know,
say?
yeah, for traitor, like senator and
Oh, yeah.
and judge and limey and
Yeah,
fraud.
how about Democratic Party rank and file member?
God, that Canadian.
Yeah,
How are you guys?
faculty member in the Ivy League. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
I got Jim
It doesn't
started. This
matter.
is good. We can do this one all day.
I'm offended. I'm leaving.
You can't say that about Dave.
You guys had a full 10 minutes to turn me into like the
We
world's biggest.
didn't do much to
We
you.
didn't. I thought we had more time.
The brief discussion of 5-year-old boys got a little into it.
Yeah, we drifted a little bit from run-of-the-mill pedophilia to Luciferian cannibalism, but I mean, it didn't have legs.
You guys know me so well.
Yeah.
It's like we're married.
Yeah, we went down the Black Mass road, but we just couldn't get it. It didn't have the natural momentum.
That's right. And
Yeah.
he's married to a British woman, which makes me spooked.
Ooh.
Oh,
A
now you
woman-
cut me.
a woman-
Now
a
you cut
woman-
me to the quick, Dave. Now
a
that's
woman
it.
from London. A woman from London.
Tom, are you married to a woman from London?
Very curious.
Is that true?
We were speaking
I am
about
not, actually.
we were
Wow.
speaking beforehand about conspiracies and lack thereof. Now I wonder if Tom's on the payroll to purposely
Oh.
muddy the waters
The
about
only
a
thing you
certain
can
city.
The only thing you can criticize Tom's wife for is that she's obviously has very flexible
Hey,
standards.
I got to ask Tom something.
Jesus, Dave, you're being. We didn't say any of the other shit. We were making that up.
Oh,
now Dave's
my,
actually, now Dave's actually. We didn't agree on this.
Well, once I hit the woman from London, there was no turning back.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get it. No, actually, technically, my wife is a hillbilly from Southern Ohio. So
Oh dear.
Good stock. No, it's
Oh dear. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Played
Hey, Tom.
the bad show.
Can I squeeze in here? Tom,
No, absolutely not.
have you been following these ladies who do the Promethean?
Oh yeah.
broadcast?
They're-
Because they seem to be completely on your wavelength, and I couldn't help wondering what you think about the quality of their talk.
I think I like to call Susan Gokinda my Auntie Susan because like, it's really hard. It's really hard for me not to feel quite an affinity to her. She's great. I've been on multiple podcasts with her. As a matter of fact, I'm going to record with her tomorrow.
Tom, she came out of nowhere. I never heard of her before last week, and all of a sudden she's all over the place.
Well, they've been building for months now, and their media strategy has been very strong. And for a while, it was like we started calling ourselves the intellectual dork web. It was like me, Alex Craner, Susan, Ian Burlingame, Blaine Holt, and a variety of us all centered on
intellectual dork web.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Tom.
Eric. Thank you, Eric Weinstein.
Hey, Tom.
So
there was some guy.
We've been doing a ton of shows around with my friend Crypto Rich and Tommy Carrigan.
I'm the retard. Jim,
Tom, there was some guy who did a recording the other day. He gave kind of a long hour-long disquisition on the current situation. I don't know who he was. He's also a Promethean org guy. Do you know who that guy was?
I haven't. Yeah, they've got a.
He was very good.
They're an outgrowth of LaRouche, and we're not going to argue, and there's no way of getting around. Yeah.
I don't know much about them except that they don't have a good reputation, LaRouche, from way back. No, from the 90s.
Like I said, this is the thing I'm going to sit down and chat with Susan about because when we go on to do the podcast tomorrow, because they're starting to get such traction that we're starting to see the hit pieces come out. Right. And we saw a couple of pieces hit Twitter yesterday and whatnot. So it's one of those things where I think it's time for us to have a solid conversation about those that were there and those that were, the evolution of all of that. Because LaRouche back in the 40s was a communist, right? At least he called himself that.
That's Lyndon LaRouche, I remember the old man of the movement.
He also was ahead of his time. Right, in the sense that he predates social media, where you could actually dig into this shit and find lots of stuff.
So did he go through some transformation?
And then really, what happened? What I understand, I've talked to Matt Arrett about this a little bit, and he's downstream of that, which is that they were the first ones to really understand that the real problem was the hidden hand of the British Empire, that the empire had never ended. So they were there in that headspace. All the way back into the 1970s. So now the question is, what's the timeline of the evolution? So it's part of the reason why I want to sit and chat with Susan to clear the air because she was there for all of it. So we get to find out how this all
help us find this Promethean podcast because I'm trying to search it and I don't know what to look for.
Look up Promethean Action on YouTube, or
I've got that.
And then you can find them on Twitter as well. Yeah, I mean, I consider them fellow travelers. I've spent hours on podcasts with Susan. She's been on my podcast before. But she and Barbara Boyd do a good solid 15-minute, easily digestible, very strong media presence. And they just
very coherent.
Oh, I know her. Okay. I know her.
Somebody or multiple people keep commenting that name, Susan Gokinda, saying I need to have her on. But I guess if you know her, I've made a note. I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to do a show with Susan.
Now, Tom,
I'm gonna text you after.
Tom, did Lyndon LaRouche go through some kind of transformation? And what happened to the LaRouche of the 1940s and the LaRouche of the 1980s and 90s? And
you're now asking a question I really can't answer, Jim. This is part of the reason why I'm going to sit down and chat with Susan about this openly, so that we can dispel a lot of because look. The U.S. government went after him, all sorts of stuff. So it's going to be a very interesting thing to dig up and resurrect all of this because it's going to have to be if they're becoming a very, very important part of the midterm election strategy. Like they're on the ground in Michigan. This is important, and they're beginning to take flack. Right, they're over the target because they're taking flack. And I could see this coming for months as this was happening. I'm like, I'm just waiting for the attacks to start coming because I know where this is coming from. But this is an area of American history and American political history that I'm not a little ignorant, quite ignorant of. And so,
well, he's really an obscure figure.
Is to sit down and to chat with the people and chat with this stuff and chat about this stuff and get it out into the open because they're going to have to deal with it. The way I'm seeing this now, it reminds me of what happened when Ron Paul hit the scene in 2008, broke through the public consciousness, and immediately the American political establishment started dredging up the old Rothbard, Paul Rockwell newsletters and all the stuff that they wrote back in the 70s and the 80s, all this really inflammatory shit. But they were trying to make their bones back then. So there was like, it's a very typical situation where what they're trying to do is keep the normies from listening to what these people had to say by attacking their roots. I read a thing the other day, the attack on Promethean Action, where it was framed as these people. LaRouche used to be a communist back in the 40s, and all of these people that are downstream of him are actually just Russian agents, and Trump is now being manhandled and controlled by these Russian agents, and it's just Russia all over the place.
So forget
hilarious
what they say
bad is what it was.
What are they? How would you describe them?
I would describe them as very similar to me. Is that they are at this point, their evolution is a very similar attitude, which is that there is a transnational oligarchy that I call Davos. I for years I called Davos as I was going through the process of trying to figure out what it was, right? And so you guys have all watched me do this in real time. But when I hit the scene back in 2017, when I first resurrected my blog, started Gold, Ghosts, and Guns, wasn't really thinking in these terms. Like I had a much different view of the way the world works. So I've been just on this kind of evolutionary path of like you, Dave, with all of the pedophilia and all, we're all on a path, right?
Oh God.
Right?
With all your pedophilia.
I just love that as a soundbite.
Yeah, let's clarify. I've been studying it.
Yeah, I'm studying it, not actually doing it.
I'm gonna say, good Lord, that little bite right there.
Yeah, that's a sound.
I had to get Dave back for the British.
I'm really passionate about this, like Dave with the pedophilia.
Dave with his pedophilia.
So,
Tom, hey Tom,
yeah.
I still don't understand. I don't have any sense of who the actual named players in the UK are. Did you get that? You went out for a minute. Who the named players are in the UK who are driving this fuckery? Do you have any idea? It's certainly not the squishes like Keir Starmer.
No, I would probably go and look at the House of Lords, who we don't know any of their names, right?
And how do they exercise this? This
and the crown
power?
itself. Like
Andrew Bridgen. Andrew Bridgen.
I've heard the name. Yeah.
I have not actually.
Bridgen took a lot of data. They're going to intersect my pedophilia interests.
Mm-hmm.
with Bridgen rounded up a ton of data on the various major players in Britain who were completely fucked up pedophiles, and he took it to MI5, MI6, and they said, we don't care, we don't want any.
Are these the guys all around the Jimmy Savile kind of scandal stuff?
Savile's complicated because on the one hand, people say he was just a big perv and he was famous, so everyone knew him and they kind of ignored it. And then others say, no, he trafficked the kids to the power elite. And I'm inclined to believe the latter just because I find it hard to believe that everyone put up with Savile and didn't rat him out if they weren't.
Well, the Fabian Society is supposedly, rife with child molesters, and they were connected to Savile.
Mm-hmm.
That Savile died a natural death is extraordinary, right? I mean, he really was the most prominent.
Instead of getting a number 9 knitting needle through his ear?
Something, he just was bad from head to toe, from start to finish, and he knew everybody. He knew everyone. Mm-hmm. He's like Marina Abramovic or something of the pedo set.
Yeah, I was thinking of him more like the John Wayne Gacy of the English upper class.
That too. You ever seen the pictures of Rosalind Carter with John Wayne Gacy? Makes you think twice.
Oh God, no.
Oh, you search John Wayne Gacy and Rosalind Carter.
Are they pen pals or something?
There's just these pictures of her. And there's also pictures of her with Reverend Jim Jones. I go, what? what is going on here? Right? They're old pictures. They're legit pictures. They're not Photoshop Twitter pictures. They
Wow.
go back. And
What
you
a
go,
world.
what's that mean? Yeah, what
What a
a
world.
world.
I started this conversation with Tom before anybody else came on, I think. Maybe you were on, Dave, I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, of course you were, because you were saying that the world is becoming less and less comprehensible. And
To me.
to you, I
Yeah.
find that it's becoming more comprehensible, at least the situation in the USA. I'm a little bit more perplexed about Europe, but the USA seems to be clarifying. I think we know what's going on, and it's pretty
Okay.
simple. You've got this gigantic racketeering enterprise that the Democratic Party,
Right.
Right.
which has been raking in just untold amounts of cash through thousands and thousands of NGOs in this massive armature of NGOs.
Which includes trafficking, by the way.
Probably does, I suppose,
Of
and
course.
but also, it has a large input from foreign interests. So, it's a combination of a racketeering enterprise and a traitorous, treasonous operation. And it's pretty clear how it all works now. You can see it exactly how it works in the situation in Minnesota. And that all of this stage crap that's going on, all of this this dumb show in the streets that's going on is a desperate attempt to distract from the nature of this racketeering operation.
See, I agree with that. Why did the right not rat him out? The right had to know the whole way, right? The right had to know about all these NGOs and stuff. Why did they not rat him out if it's the left wing doing it?
I'm not sure that they did know, at least the Somali stuff. I think that it has become increasingly evident even before the Somalis, when Doge went into the USAID, and all of a sudden we see that, what we thought were just a handful of NGOs out there actually multiplied into scores and scores of NGOs that were involved in nefarious activities. And now it turns out there's actually thousands of them, thousands upon thousands of them.
But we knew, for example, Sam Bankrupt-Fraud was funneling gazillions through Ukraine back to the DNC, for example. We knew that.
Yeah, there are myriad money laundry operations going on out there. And, it partly explains why people like Nancy Pelosi have a, $150 million fortune. Partly.
Right.
But
and you don't even know what she has either. That's what we know.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For all the Cayman Islands, heaven only knows what's there.
And you can also see the whole architecture of the illegal immigrant invasion and exactly what it was designed to do. It's not hard at all. It's obvious that, they were brought in to increase the census numbers in the congressional districts and to vote. And, they gave them citizenship or some sort of quasi-citizenship status more easily than you'd get a pizza slice in New York City. And, the whole thing is just completely obvious. I don't know why there's any confusion over this.
The confusion I have is it seems way too destructive. It seems like someone really is not just trying to get votes and do that stuff. That seems like the simple explanation. That seems like
I think the reason for that is also simple, that they don't really have a plan except to amass as much power as possible. Like every sort of crypto Marxist communist enterprise. They really just want to have all the power so they can push people around. But once they get the power, they don't really know what to do with it. They try to organize the economy or the society and the institutions, but they always fail at it, except, in the sense of being able to control people. So, they don't really have any kind of a complex plan, and they don't really believe in, principles.
So you would
they definitely don't believe in anything, Jim. I agree with you about that.
Their principles are fake.
They're sociopaths. Tucker did a great rant about Minnesota in which he talked about the chaos and how profoundly risky the chaos is.
In what way? To whom? To the country?
Everybody, to the country. He says that the chaos could spread to produce. I watched a Walter Kern Matt Taibbi interview, and Walter kept saying, "Why is the right not in there?" And Taibbi kept missing the point. He kept saying, "Well, you got the ice guys and stuff," and Walter was saying, "No, the guys with the baseball bats, right? We're the pot-bellied." Elks Club guys. Why
it's
are they
remarkable
not in
that they
there?
haven't been in there with their baseball bats and their guns. That's the most amazing thing.
And what Walter said, it will be catastrophic if they show up, because then we will really have a war.
And it won't be something you can unwind. I don't think. I mean, just from like the guys like I interview and like how they go about things, they always say like never use a butter knife when you could use a chainsaw. Like that's kind of like how, I mean, from Delta Force to Rangers to SEALs to that's how they all operate. Like it's not a dial where they kind of get angry. It's nothing happened. These are guys.
Emergent. It's emergent.
It goes like my buddy Clay was saying about, he's a Green Beret and he's a sniper. I mean, like nonchalant. He's like, yeah, the last guy I shot in the face was standing between his wife and son. Like we're not peacekeepers. And like no, like the hardest thing ever. And he would just kind of kept going. And I was like, and he's an average one of them. My point is when, and not him personally, when these people show up, they've told their wife and kids bye. They're not showing up and like I'm taking pictures and going to like the hot new riot. These are guys who are going to show up and they themselves are going to leave in a body bag.
Doesn't turn around.
And I hope they don't.
The Fort Bragg Cartel is a pretty good book. Talks about these guys. I don't know if any of you have read it. The Fort Bragg Cartel talks about the creation of SEAL Team 6 types, Delta Force types, and how they become they just will no longer fit in society. They are they're killing machines. They're drugged out of their minds. They're running drugs. The law protects them. They're viewed as like this
untouchable asset. Well, because they are. Who are you going to send to stop them?
That's right. And that's when Sean Ryan, the podcaster, when Dan Crenshaw said, "My boys at 6 told me about what you said."
Yeah.
Why Sean Ryan said that is a threat against his life to say "my boys at 6."
Yeah. But the point is to what Jim's saying, or whoever Taibbi or Dave was saying, like when they it's not going to go backwards, and like I don't want them. This isn't like get out there, guys. It's like no, if these guys show up, like you're dead, everyone's dead, the police are dead. Like it's no turning back, and you have to wonder whoever's orchestrating this. Back to what Jim says. Yeah, I don't think it's just yachts and penthouses. I think that's part of it, but I think I think it's been war gamed out that like, and if it does spiral a civil war, that's also a win. I don't think they're going into this like blind. I think that they view that as also a win.
Oh, absolutely. No,
whoever's funding the external powers or internal that are also orchestrating. It's not just run of the mill. Let's get some money out of a bailout. It's Tom.
So my position is somewhere between Dave's and Jim's. No lie. I listened to Jim's explanation, and I agree that is a very big part of it, which is that you have the old oligarchy, let's call them the high table or whatever you want to call them. They don't want to give up their power, right? You have Dave's inquisitions into the world of oligarch pedophilia, child trafficking, and all that stuff to reinforce the idea that these people have no fucking morals, that they have no limits they recognize no limits on their behavior, right? So they're going to do anything they need to do to stay in power, which then leads us to what Tommy just said about how do you walk up the escalatory ladder in a situation like Minneapolis to where they get to win. They don't give a shit how many people die in order for them to stay in power so they can keep diddling kids, so they can keep doing what they're doing. They don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't even care about their freaking families. They just do what they're going to do because these people are literal, amoral psychopaths. Now, and they'll use anything for that. So when you watch Minnesota, you have to realize that you have the Trump team watching this, trying to figure out how to walk up the escalatory ladder in Minnesota. And reinforce the civilian institutions of civilization without crossing the line where we wind up with the military on the streets. At any point, Minnesota, he had every fucking right to walk in and institute the Insurrection Act, bring in the Marines, do the thing.
Right.
Right? Absolutely. But what message does that tell us? It tells, one, it's a sign of weakness because now we had to go to that, to the people that he's fighting against. The second thing
Plus, they're going to use it against them.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, exactly.
They're going to smell blitz. They're going to smell
let him
blitz.
go on. Keep going.
So yeah. So then the 30% of the 20% of the country that believes that he's literally Orange Hitler or Creamsicle Mussolini, whatever the fuck you want to call him, are going to be reinforced in that mindset because he went out there and was a tyrant. In the world, in these people's world, right? Trump is both a bully and a tyrant.
Yeah,
and they hate bullies and they hate tyrants because bullies are bad because they're perpetual victims, and tyrants are bad because tyrants are supposedly bad. I don't know, whatever in their mind. But these are the same people that believe that words are violence. So if you bully somebody, you're a tyrant.
Let me ask a simple question. What is? I think this problem exists in every state. This is not
right.
Local.
It's not just Minnesota.
Right.
Minnesota is
why has Minnesota been chosen as the battleground?
Because for now, the discovery of the Somali social services grift is so bad that they're desperate to create a distraction and cover it up.
Yeah, I would take another angle on that. I would say they might have known about the grift. I just don't think you can hide all this. If let's say it's the left, right? Let's say, I'm not sure it is, but let's say it's the left. The right had to know about this grift. They had to know. I don't think there's an NGO out there that isn't crooked.
I think they suspected that Tim Walz was dirty and that there's a lot of dirty shit going on in Minnesota, but I don't think that they were really paying close attention.
Let Dave finish.
I want to take this back one step further. Why was Minnesota chosen to put all the Somalis into? To run the grift.
Right.
That's the question we should be asking. And that's a very easy
Well, that was a Barack Obama decision.
Well, again, it goes back 15 years. You prep. Why? You have a group of people of Scandinavian background, all high trust society people who are genuinely nice and non-confrontational.
Yeah,
and above average.
Intents and purposes, and you drop a whole bunch of grifters,
65 IQ click language, yeah,
right. And then you just funnel the money in, and it's a perfect thing. And there's also a very weird thing about Minnesota in the first place, which is that Minnesota's Democratic Party isn't even really part of the DNC. It's the Democratic Farmers Socialist Communist Party of fucking Minnesota. Like they've always been. It was the perfect petri dish for this.
It's in their DNA,
and it's on the Canadian fucking border. So we have all the shitbag Canadians and the Laurentian elites moving.
In polite company, we call them snow Mexicans.
Snow Mexicans.
And
Father, the snow Mexicans are angry.
Now bridge the chasm between Obama and the president going through the George Floyd riots because they got to be connected.
Exactly. Yeah. No. I mean. Minnesota was chosen a while ago for its unique form of leftism and its unique geography,
squish leftism,
and its unique history, and its unique. I mean, remember, this is the only state that voted for Mondale.
Right.
Oh, that is,
Well, he was a homeboy.
You guys are not as dumb as you look. I'll tell you. You guys really are nailing this one. Not you, Tommy.
I am as dumb as I look. All right.
Hey, but listen, there's a thread here that we got to pull. The question of what can be done about it. And obviously, Mr. Trump is faced with, a number of perplexing conundrums about, actions to not take or to take. And the big problem, as I see it, and it's pretty fucking obvious, is that the main remedy for all this would be, good old American adjudication in the justice system. But when you are in a situation where, you've got a federal court district that refuses to deal with these things, you've got a federal court system that is nullifying all of the attempts of the federal government to enforce the law. You can't use that. So you got to find some other way. And my guess is that, and this is the reason that, you're not seeing these automatic indictments, or, they're not frog marching people into court, is that they're going to go after the money.
That's
And
what I was going to say.
once they go
Cut
after
off
the
the
money,
funds.
Absolutely.
once they go
Cut off
after
the
the money
funds.
trail, then they can really nail a bunch of these
Yeah,
guys.
the goal here is not Minnesota. Minnesota's like getting
They're
the
national
corner drug guy. It's like
organizations.
trying to get into the
It's
corner drug
arbitrary.
dealer. You want the kingpin.
Yeah.
You want the Canadian banks where all this money's been fucking laundered. You want the people the people in Vancouver, by the way, who were facilitating all the money and the material and the men and everything else being funneled into Minnesota. Like, this is a big fucking deal.
And I'd like to see some of the bank officers involved too.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. This is I agree. And Minnesota was like, they chose Minnesota as ground zero. And we, if we're on the side of Trump here trying to stop this, then we poke Minnesota and send it over the fucking edge by sending ICE in there to force them to reveal themselves. Look, if I'm playing this game, you don't fight on ground. I'm Sun Tzu. You never fight on ground prepared by your enemy. Minnesota was prepared ground for them to like play the whole evil Trump thing, and it was gonna explode from there. But I bet you dollars that dog shit that was supposed to happen in June, not January.
For the election.
So you push the pace in order to light up all these phones, in order to light up all the freaking money, and then and this is the best part about it. Did anybody not notice this? I did. On Sunday night, there's reports out of China that Hu Jintao's faction tried to oust Xi. Right?
I didn't read
Mark
that.
Carney's out there screaming, "Oh, we're gonna cut a big trade deal with China, and we're gonna nullify the USMCA and all this bullshit." And it fails. And at the same time that the reports came out that it failed, we saw the signal chats hit the friggin' wavelength. We saw Data Republican with her big data dump of all the shit coming out of Vancouver. And all of a sudden, and the next morning, Trump's like, "Oh, by the way, we're bringing in Tom Homan. I've talked to Tim Walz, blah, blah. This is what's going to happen." And we're moving Bonvino and all the rest of those guys, and we're moving them down to Arizona or to California or wherever's next.
Hey, Tom, was Hu Jintao the guy who was removed from that plenary session of the CCP about a year or so ago? The guy who was picked up.
Hu Jintao was the leader of China that Davos was schmoozing to hand China to them. He was the former leader in China that was backed by City of London and Davos, and is his faction within the CCP that Xi was brought in to get rid of.
Was he the one who got plucked right out of the meeting?
Yeah, that's the one where I'm talking about.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm following.
Good question. It's a good question.
Do I get bonus points if I put the word "tard" on the end of a word or anything, or is that just too old?
No, it's good.
I am playing funny name bingo over here, and I'm about to yell bingo because we're hitting them all.
How far has this gone in China, Tom, as far as you know?
I mean, look, Keir Starmer had to go over there yesterday to try and salvage something, and I think Xi basically told him, no.
Well, so Xi,
because what they were trying to do is they were trying to get control of the CCP to stop Trump. Trump goes to fucking Davos and tells them globalism's dead. Fuck you. I want Greenland. Fuck you. I'm taking Canada.
That was
Fuck
great. That was really
brilliant. Does Europe have any tools that they can use financially to hurt the United States? Scott Besson. No. It was beautiful. Like Christine Lagarde's Adam's apple went all a quiver, and then she threw down her microphone and left. It was fucking hilarious.
And there's bonus points for mentioning her Adam's apple. You get that one. I don't think
she borrowed it from Rachel Maddow.
I've used that joke 100 times, but
I'll make reference to Macron's father, for example, Macron's father.
By the way, this morning I saw a video in France. Speaking of Macron, that the firefighters are out in force protesting Macron, and the police in one of the cities just let them walk through, and the police just stood down. Half of them just sort of high-fiving this. They went by. So he's starting to lose the police in France.
Woo, woo.
But the real thing will be, of course, when the military
You mentioned the money. I had a question yesterday that I was wondering if it would work, and that is there a way to just cut off federal dollars to Minnesota and say, clean up your act? You're not going to
They're
benefit.
certainly trying.
They cleaned out a lot of it, yeah, but there's some of it they can't clean up.
They can't just cut it off.
Well, the federal judges keep on reversing.
No Department of Education, no Department of. There's no way to cut that money
I think
off.
they have. The interesting part about it, Jim, I do want to push.
Say that again, Tom.
Something did come out like right after all the fraud shit came out, where it said like all federal funding to HHS or
well, the federal judges shut it down, and then another one will come and give a restraining order to let it go, and then another one will come in and shut it down.
But the good news is that Minnesota is in the 8th district, and from what I understand, the 8th district is actually not horrific. Part of the other reason why that Trump could get away with a lot of things in Minnesota if he wanted to, if he needed to, that eventually you would get to the judges in the 8th district that are generally much more conservative than they are in, say, the Northeast or the 9th district out in, out west and whatnot. So, I mean, when the traffic court judge in Maryland decides that they're going to try and stop Trump from, cutting off the money to Minnesota, I think that's not going to stand up the legal fucking challenge. But
the trouble is that it delays action for like 3 months until it gets to an appellate court,
or 3 days, or some of these things are knocked down pretty much. But yeah, I know I agree with you. One of the things that one of the things I've been thinking about recently, and again, this is all in this like kind of Davos extend to pretend. Can we get to the midterms and then get rid of the demon Trump and all of this stuff? The one that's out there that I've noticed multiple times in the last month, every week when the Supreme Court shows up to say, yep, we're handing down some new things, some new decisions. And every time Polymarket gets bombed and the headlines go to the fucking roof that, we're going to strike down Trump's tariffs. This went on, 3 weeks in a row, 4 weeks in a row? They did this. And every week that it doesn't go through is another week that the court is trying to figure out how they can sidestep this entire issue, because they know full well that they can't strike down Trump's tariffs at this point. And he knows it. That's why he said it. Everybody said. And so that's slop coming from City of London. The goal here is to stop anybody who's actually managing money from moving their money out of Europe. They're trying to freeze the capital in Europe and keep it from fleeing.
Without declaring capital controls.
It's always about capital. Because
without capital controls.
Well, they have to put on capital controls. Yes. So they're trying not to put on capital controls. And because if they do that, then the minute they start putting on even more capital controls, money's going to start leaving. And that's when you start watching. So you start watching things like Monero go to $2,000 a coin, shit like that, as people try to move their money outside of normal channels in order to get their money out of Canada.
Put yourself inside the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
What are they thinking right now? Are they watching this going, it's going to be on us to try to straighten out this country?
I think one thing that's going on for sure is that John Roberts is playing a very dangerous game. John Roberts has been trying for years to undermine Trump in a lot of subtle ways, and he hasn't stopped. Remember a lot of mischief came out of Robert's own office, where his office manager or aide de camp or whoever he was, a guy named Sheldon Snook, who was married to Mary McCord, the lawfare ninja of ninjas. Yeah. The chief, the queen of the lawfare ninjas. Sheldon Snook is in John Roberts' office. You got to figure that there's some kind of connection there, and that John Roberts is working very hard in whatever subtle ways he can to undermine Trump.
I think Barrett's no friend of Trump either.
No, she kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
She's got kind of a hateful look in her eye. She can't hide her disdain.
Yeah, but
I think she was a Trojan horse a little bit. I think they got her by thinking she was a super right winger, and she's not.
Yeah, and I guess she was, nominated or recommended by one of those conservative think tanks, the Heritage Foundation.
The Federalist Society is generally.
Okay, so who in there coughed her up?
Yeah, well, that's actually this is one of the few things you'll hear me actually agree with Robert Barnes about at this point. But yeah, he was screaming about the whole Federalist Society mafia inside, to make sure that the judges aren't too radical in terms of their constructionism. And it's one of the few things I still take from Barnes that's worth the shit. Otherwise, he's crashing out just like the rest of these fucking retards. And I don't care about like throwing. I don't care about naming names at this point. It's pretty fucking obvious that his Twitter feed is indistinguishable from half of the frigging people on Blue Sky at this point. But then I can say that same thing about friggin'
what do you suppose happened to
half the
him?
libertarians are doing the same damn thing. This was crazy at this point.
What do you suppose happened to Barnes?
I don't know.
And we're talking about Robert Barnes, the lawyer.
I am talking about Robert Barnes. I have a lot of theories about it, and some of which are probably libelous. So I'll just keep my mouth shut. Just put it that way. Yeah, I know. I have a lot of theories about what's going on with him, but
Well, that scares the crap out of me. Is this when lawfare goes after the private sector, the person so I put out a tweet today about January 6th. I had to read what I wrote about J6 back in 2000, whatever. And I was vibrating. I was reliving the experience of what they did to those guys. And then there was an article in Zero Hedge that talked about the experience of 5 of them. And I was just vibrating again. I just want to hang the people who used 1,000 of our citizens as a political football. I just want to hang them. And the problem is, here's the problem, and this is why Tucker's rant about the chaos. He says they're sowing chaos and that will destroy us. Bothers me because I know that I'm being pulled right into that plot. When I want to go hang people, I am being sucked into that plot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Dave. You're absolutely right. And that's part of the reason why I've been trying to do is assess the movements of the Trump administration, even though I'm as Italian and as friggin' over the top and let's just shoot them all and be done with it. Like that's my default position.
That's
like
your caveman DNA speaking.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm my inner mobster is get the suppressor into 22 and just start taking everybody out.
Yeah, but antipasto, it's best served cold.
Exactly. But that being said, what I've had to do is subordinate all that and go, okay, why are they acting the way they are? Is it because they're all in on it and they're all really the secret globalists? No. How about we be grown-ups for a minute and ask maybe, just maybe, they're trying to do what I was suggesting earlier, which is to try and thread the needle such that they can still reaffirm the parts of the civil institutions that are still working before we ever have to go military.
Which parts of those? Could you
not
name
many,
one?
not many, but but here's the thing, we're watching, what did I see this morning? I saw a picture of Tulsi Gabbard on the ground in
Fulton County, Georgia.
Fulton County, Georgia. He
was at the election center. Nobody knew that yesterday when the news broke.
Clarify that.
Yesterday the news broke. Yesterday the news broke that the FBI had entered the election headquarters in Fulton County to get a shitload of evidence, including ballots that they've been trying to extract for like 4 years or something. Or not 4 years, because a lot of that was the Biden administration. But for quite some time, they've been trying to get the ballots, and which are rumored to have been crooked ballots. And it turned out that Tulsi Gabbard was on the scene.
And wasn't something that in the Bondi letter to Waltz last week, wasn't one of the things was hand over the voter rolls?
Absolutely. And that was to Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, because he's refusing to cooperate with that request. And that's not Congress, by the way. That's the Attorney General. That's the Department of Justice. So you can fuck around with Congress and say, I don't feel like it today. But I don't. You can't do that with the DOJ. Now the question is, how far will Bondi go? And sooner or later she's going to have to. Well, I guess they've already subpoenaed Keith Ellison, Jacob Fry, and Tim Walz to do something. Well, I guess that's Congress has subpoenaed them to testify. Or is it the DOJ? I'm not really quite sure.
They're going to be no-shows. They're going to be no-shows, and then they're going to have to decide whether to ban them, Navarro them, or not. Right.
Well,
all of which seem to be spark points for.
Don't forget, guys. We are dealing with 12 U.S. attorneys at this point, as opposed to 96.
Because they
The
haven't been
DOJ
appointed.
there's like 17, or was it somewhere is less than 20, and normally there are 96 on staff, and they're running with less than 20 right now.
And that's because,
which goes right back to Thune and the Senate.
Exactly.
This all comes
It's another point of fuckery, which is that the Republican establishment in the Senate refuses to act, and they're doing it so out in your face that it's
where
just amazing.
That's where I come back to, and what you're saying, Jim. That's where I come back to, like, Insurrection Act is. It seems that the rot is so thorough and so pervasive and so bipartisan that I get what you're saying, Tom. It's like you don't want to show that weakness. You don't want to, and 30% of the people are going to say, see, he really is Hitler. Okay. But at a certain point, you do have to look at, like, the ticking clock.
Yeah, but we're not at that point. That's the whole point.
I know. I'm just saying out there. I know, but I'm just saying in general, like, but you do have to start looking at it and being like, all right, there's not 10 seconds left. There's still half the game or whatever. Right. You're looking at it and you're going, but you do need like, at a certain point, you got to just, which ones, okay, they're going to think you're a coward or think you're scared or they're going to call you Orange Hitler. At a certain point, you do need to see all the things coming together and make a move. And I'm not going to pretend to understand wargaming and, like, tiers of escalation. I have a biology degree. I have no idea what I'm doing. But at a certain point, like, when they have 12 instead of 97, do you know what I mean? At a certain point, you got to be looking around and, like, just break the glass.
We're not.
I agree, Tommy. I agree.
He's keeping that in his back pocket.
So I've been a Tulsi fan for years, way before she even was remotely famous. I said, watch this chick in
she was a congresswoman.
in Hawaii. Yeah, in Hawaii, way back before she even began a run for the presidency. And I was telling people they didn't know no one knew who the hell I was talking about. I go, let's start with the fact she's kind of hot. And then
she rejects all of my approaches.
When I talked to Tucker about Tulsi off camera, and he said that she's completely shocked at what she sees. I go, relative to what she already knew, and he said yes. So from using what she knew as a congresswoman as a baseline, she's shocked. That tells us the magnitude of the problem.
It also tells you something else. It tells you that one of the reasons that Trump and his people have been acting as sanguine as they have is that they're going after election fraud hard in the weeks and months ahead. And that's going to be a big attitude changer for a lot of people in this country.
What kind of retard?
When they actually see the evidence that they've been fucked around the way they have been.
What kind of retard is so far gone that they support unverifiable votes?
There's about 70 million retards out there.
But it's so amazing to me. By the way, did you see, I don't want to go here, but the Israeli guy who said we have to push away the First Amendment and get control of the media, right? No. But this is the kind of thinking that somehow is working on people. I don't even understand. I don't understand how people can be so far gone.
I think that's very clear, too. This is another clarifying thing that we're seeing. And one thing I would suggest to any listeners and to you guys is check out the Twitter feed of J.D. Haltigan, Haltigan. He popped onto my radar screen lately, and he's a psychiatrist who does a very good job of...
I got him already. Okay.
He does a very good job of discussing the weird psychodynamics behind the feminization of our politics and our culture. And
as does Adam Carolla.
Yeah, and he's not a psychiatrist. He's a comedian.
But he's smart.
Yeah, but that's also because this dynamic is right out in our faces. We are seeing basically a contagious female hysteria. And
absolutely,
it's unambiguous. There's nothing mysterious about it.
No, there really isn't. It's interesting. I was watching a video from a woman the other day as a YouTube channel called, oh God, let me pull it up real quick. It was a great freaking video, and let me find it. So
Carolla talks about the feminist movement. What it's done is empowered women. Okay, so far so good. But what he points to is he says somehow a ton of them have taken it to the point of saying, okay, now I can just be an asshole. And he said, no, That's not what you're empowered to do. You're not empowered to be an asshole. And
I don't think it's to be an asshole. It's to be hysterical.
Well,
I don't
that's
think
an
they're
asshole.
aware that they're being assholes.
No,
You know,
I know
so-
that. I know. So Brett Weinstein was talking the other day. These are thoughtful people. And he said right now the divide between women and men is huge. Women and men don't like each other anymore.
Yeah.
There really is a big
So-
divide.
So here's the interesting thing. The name of the YouTube channel is Saving Culture from Itself, and it's a middle-aged woman, and she went into why it's how woke became a middle-class status symbol. Right.
Oh God.
And
I know.
oh, it's amazing, right? That she goes through it all, goes like the last 40 years of how that middle, because she's reformed herself, basically. So she
can you explicate it a little bit?
Yeah, so it's just I'm going to make it really simple.
What's her name again? What's the YouTube channel again?
The name of the channel is called Saving Culture from Itself, and the name of the video is How Woke Became a Middle Class Status Symbol. And it was fascinating. I watched the whole thing through, and I was listening to this. I'm going, I know women like this who saw it. The whole process of by becoming in effect, it's like it really is suicidal empathy. Right. And remember the movie Heathers? Once I got done watching the
Mean
video,
Girls.
I left a comment on her. I said, this is just the plot of Heathers writ large. We as Gen X understood this then. Remember what happened in Heathers? They faked they killed one of the Heathers and then faked it as a suicide. And then suicide became a status symbol within the high school because like you got empathy and sympathy from everybody. I'm like, this is
Gladwell talked about this. Gladwell talked about this in his most recent book, The Suicide Pandemic.
What I said was, I said in my comment was, so this is the plot of Heathers where the women have all gone to the suicidal empathy and they've checked out because all the guys, if you look at Repo Man, the other Gen X great movie that explains Gen X, which is from the disaffected male perspective. You've got the young guy Otto in Repo Man watching all of these freaking jackass old men who are supposedly macho repo men sitting around all day doing nothing in this post-Vietnam malaise. I said, all talking about how they like to watch their buddies fuck. I know I do. Like it's if you remember the scene in Repo Man, where
I don't either.
You're gonna like this. This is great. I watched that movie 20 times.
It's like 35
really
years ago.
Instructive. There's that moment where Miller says John Wayne was a fag. No, it's true, you guys. I was installing two-way mirrors in his pad in Brentwood. He came to the door in a dress. That doesn't mean anything. Lots of guys like to watch their buddies fuck. I know I do. So do I. And then Otto looks at me, you guys are fags. And he walks out, and he walks out. You're like, this is fucking retarded. I'm going to go out and repo some cars because that's his job. And like, this is the problem. We have like these two things. And yes, you're exactly right. Men and women don't really like each other because right now the women are all freaking suicidally empathetic towards all this crap. And the men are all checked out,
soy boys.
False masculinity. The whole point of Repo Man is it's about false masculinity. No different than The Big Lebowski, which
and
also
Hollywood has fed this crap to us for a decade at least now. Hollywood is really. My wife dragged me to the sequel to Mamma Mia, and there were like 40 or 50 women in the theater and about 4 guys who are obviously doing their marital deeds to go to Mamma Mia. What was striking is that there were 3 leading men who were older, who were, I think, probably in the first Mamma Mia, and 3 younger ones. And I'm looking at it, and I said to my wife, I said, I could take all 3 of the young guys. They're a bunch of wusses, right? These are not leading men types. There's no macho-ness in these guys at all. And I don't think normal women want guys who don't have some caveman in them. I don't think we didn't evolve for women to want men who have no caveman.
Well, they're pretending that they're not interested now.
I know,
but like everything else that's going on,
90%
90% of it is pretend.
That's
Have you
exactly
seen
right.
the memes of the fake romance novel covers of the purple haired lesbian going up to the ICE agent, and it's the
Oh
it's
yeah,
a
no,
bodice ripper with that as a thing, and it's
I
so
don't,
friggin' true
I know
without calling them lesbians until gunpoint.
it's women seeking out men who will actually tell them to fuck off and boss them
Yes,
around. That's why they're all
that's
going out
exactly
there. They want some dude in body armor to backhand them
yeah
because their husbands won't.
yeah
So
lesbians
I
until
think this is I
gunpoint.
think they're that this is ICE is doing a human rights campaign. I think they're doing good work. They are helping out. They are helping out emotionally deprived
And
women.
you heard it first. ICE is a human rights campaign.
Yeah,
Oh,
what
I
they
love
did
it,
to Renee
Tommy. That's
Good
a
was
great.
love.
I'm
Yeah,
using that. I'm stealing
yeah.
that motherfucker.
That was an act of
I
love,
know, that's
shooting her
good.
in the face. It was.
We're gonna get kicked off YouTube with
I
this
don't
one.
care, dude. I don't
It's-
fucking care. Fuck these faggots. I'm just confused how we got to the Repo Man part from Minnesota. I was just listening to Tom talk. I'm like, how did we
Oh,
get
men
to
and
that?
women. You know
Fucking
the
dudes
Heather's
fucking-
movie to the Repo Man.
Because they
I
went out
think-
and they
I think-
radicalized all these middle class women to show up in friggin' Minnesota to go up against ICE to do exactly the
You do see
psychosexual
it is
thing that
the
we just
whole
laid out.
it's the misplaced maternal shit too. They're all like, I need to go out there and,
Sure.
and with all this stuff, you're like, dude, how many of these
to protect
how
my
many of
little
these
helpless
things would be
victims.
negated if like if you had a child or if like you like weren't a theater kid or so many of these things are it's not vested in any of this. It's misplaced instincts. It's why are they so into, playing video games? It's like, well, because the average dude isn't out there like getting in a fight. So what do? They get in like a simulated fight. It's our core DNA is being
Well, then,
suppressed.
and more appropriately, it's interesting, Tommy, you say that, right? Because I remember thinking about this when I was like 9, 10 years old, right? I'm in school, typical boy shit. Guys get,
Burning
no matter
stuff
what happens,
down,
they always
breaking shit,
told you the school administrators always told you the same thing. If you always knew what the rules were. Both guys, no matter who started it, got detention for getting into a fight. I'm like, so how am I supposed to defend myself? I'm supposed to run. What? I'm going to run to the like this. So you have this asshole, and these guys, all the psychopaths and all the fucking sociopaths knew goddamn well what the rules were. They didn't give a shit. They didn't give a shit if they could take down the smart kids because they were all going to fucking shop anyway. Though, okay, fine, fair enough. They should have been going to shop. But the point is that there was an unfair playing field. You couldn't actually defend yourself at all. And it was bred into you that you just walk away from that and be non-confrontational. It's effectively negating castle doctrine and creating duty to retreat as a fucking societal impulse, which was, and I grew up in New York, so guess what? It was also fucking law.
So in
like,
third
fuck
grade,
that.
I got to tell you this story.
Kick that
that's the
motherfucker in
opposite.
the head and be done with it.
In
And then we don't
third-
have to fight outdoors, and we have to fight. And when we got off the school bus, we pull each
in
other off the school bus.
third
And beat the fuck out of each
grade,
other.
in third grade, I'm in the back of the room. The kid's in the front of the room, and the teacher says, "You're not getting to go out until everyone stops talking." And the kid in the front's there for a reason. He keeps talking. He keeps talking. He keeps talking. I walk to the front of the room and I smack him right in the chops. And I go back and I sit down. What's the teacher say? She said, "Bruce, you deserve that." That is a different.
That's old school.
That's old school. And one time when I was in kindergarten, the biggest kid in second grade, he fell on me. My insult to him was, "Get off me, Rumpelstiltskin," right? That's the kindergartner's put down, right? And he comes at me, and I'm going, "Holy fuck." And I threw a punch right into his nose, and he went down crying. And I go, "Note to self, get the first punch in."
Yeah.
Go first. Yes.
Well,
go
as
first.
far as the ladies are concerned, let's remember what Nietzsche said. He said, "Are you going to women? Don't forget the whip."
Yeah.
Oh God, we're gonna get killed.
No. No, I think it's
No, I think it's we're that's the reason that there's probably two main reasons that Trump has disordered the female mind in America. One, of course, is that he actually did manage to strike down Roe versus Wade, or at least enable a Supreme Court that would do that. But he's such a daddy figure that he just inflames every
Yeah. No,
woman in
yes.
America with a daddy problem.
But yeah,
And so
yeah,
many women in America have had daddy problems because so many families have been dysfunctional for so long.
Well, 50% divorce rate. Let's start with
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah,
so
so that implies a lot of daddy abandonment, actually, and so you have this rage against daddy, and so they refuse to be disciplined by daddy now. It's a kind of a fight to the death against daddy, and that's been obvious since 2016. So,
agreed, agreed.
yeah,
I
well, I have
think
a
Like,
slightly,
I think you're absolutely right, Jim. I'm glad you brought it up that way because
I have a,
I was like.
Yeah.
I have
I
a,
was going to say everybody just needs to stop. The guys need to stop acting out their mommy issues, and the girls need to stop acting out their daddy issues on Twitter. Shut the fuck up and get back to work. Go have some babies.
I have a slightly more nuanced view about the women, what they're really looking for and what they really need. I think in the hunter-gatherer world of evolution, the women had a difficult task of they had to find a guy who was strong enough to provide and hunt bison and do all that shit, and at the same time not beat the shit out of them. So I think that's the knife edge that women need to find is the guy who's like the burly husband who is a cupcake in their hands that they can control and manipulate.
Well, this is why we're supposed to have children with them so that the men know what they're fighting for.
That's exactly
and so the women have something to do.
And then it becomes a partnership.
And we're not doing that now. We have a
no, we're not doing nearly enough
now.
of that now.
Yeah, and we have daycare.
More babies.
Ha ha.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty ironic that, daycare is such a big thing in America because women will not take care of their children for one reason or another. Either they're busy making money or some other reason. But
don't forget.
Wait. But then the dysfunction and the pathology asserts itself in a big daycare scandal in Minnesota.
That's a great point. Man,
it's very symmetrical. And,
I knew exactly where Jim was going with that. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna wait.
It's elegant.
It is.
The economics of the modern era requires they work too. They're
that's the British system of taxing, enslavement, colonialism, all of that stuff. We need to get rid of all that. That's what I think.
Tom, don't you think that
all the way back to the Promethean action argument, the discussion at the beginning of the show?
Don't you think that Trump has he's been making repeated trips over to Britain and having confabs with Starmer and even King Charles III? Don't you think that he's been quietly reading them the Riot Act and driving them crazy?
Oh, absolutely, he has. I think that
hopefully
I think he's been throwing them. I think Starmer's clearly not playing ball, right? And the question is King Charles.
Who's a pedo?
Well, again, let's just talk about the crown itself. Let's talk about the institution of the monarchy. Now we get into the Ian Burlingham argument about restoring the crown and the usurpation of it, and the Orange Revolution and all this stuff. Let me put it to you this way. The invitation has been put out to the king to show up for the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, which was the biggest fuck you to the British crown in human history, right? Now, if the king is a captured pawn on the board and the king comes to America, wouldn't it be kind of funny if he dissolves parliament while he's here in the United States under Trump's protection?
Kind of like
How would he do that?
He can do that.
Well, that's one of his powers. It's one of his few powers.
Parliament and all of the government is absolutely.
He can dissolve parliament?
Yeah.
Yes, he can.
Oh, do it.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just telling you that if I was writing the script, this is the way it would go down.
But it would kind of leave him a marked man. Yeah,
well, that's why you stay here.
No, he's dying anyway.
Yeah, well, it's also you'd stay here. It'd be like Maduro. Was he kidnapped, or did he get picked up because he made?
Do you have any idea what the disposition of his son William is? Because he strikes me as being kind of a hard ass.
I think William is better than Charles. That's all I'll say. I'm not going to say more than that at this point, but I think that that's been very much part of the conversation. Look, Trump made it abundantly clear while he was at Davos. He wants to save Europe from its own worst instincts. He wants to save the UK from its own worst instincts. He's here to liberate Canada as well. I'm here to liberate Canada. I want to be able to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame and not be, and not be picked up by the RCMP. I want to be able to go to Cornerstone in March and not and get back out on a freaking plane. So yeah,
not to immediately fucking fly off, but because I know we have Tom for a limited amount of time. Are we hitting Iran today? I don't know if you saw that.
I canceled the one that's coming after this, by the way.
Okay. All right. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I have a friend coming in from out of town, so when he shows up, then I'm out of here.
The carrier strike group one completely.
I have a hard stop on Saturday, so.
All right, so we'll push this for another 90
I have a hard
hours.
stop when Camille walks back in the door and goes, dude, seriously, you're still fucking talking?
I have some Adderall. We can go for the next 90 hours. But no, I think the carrier strike group, they said went completely dark today, which is what you do, which is what you always do leading up to, it's what you did right before Maduro. You always do that. You just no comms in or out. Which is also
nothing in the headlines.
I saw it. I don't know. I saw it like an hour or two ago.
Oh yeah. I've been busy all morning. I didn't watch it. I didn't see it. I haven't looked at my Twitter feed in 3 or 4 hours. So God knows the world might have changed. World might have ended out there. I wouldn't even know.
That's what I think I saw was that. And again, I don't know anything, but this is also what you want to do if you'd want to scare the shit out of them is you would go dark to make it look like you're going in. But I've seen there's like a lot of poly market bets of like, are we hitting Iran today? I don't know if it's something like talks broke down or something or didn't go well or.
I don't. I mean,
I have no
Why
idea.
are we hitting Iran? Don't give me the obvious. Is there an answer besides the obvious one?
I don't think so.
I mean, Iran is a company. I don't have a good answer for this. My instinct is to say Trump doesn't necessarily want regime change. He wants like Maduro. He wants he wants the institutions to remain in play, right? So that the society does not explode. But he wants the attitude of whatever the leadership is to fundamentally change. I think he's been working on trying to get rid of all of the European axis of resistance elements within Iran, meaning the IRGC and all of that. And
the irony of Trump is the greatest disruptor to ever be in the presidency, arguably, some would argue that, is the guy who's trying to be least disruptive.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
he's trying to surgically pull the leader of Venezuela out for some reason, which I don't actually yet know why. Let me ask you this: is it possible?
Election fuckery?
I think so.
Yeah, but
among other things.
Yeah.
I just saw a quote from the head of the chief technical officer, Smartmatic, talking, in which he was quoted as saying, "I'm going to make sure Trump doesn't get reelected." Right? That was an interesting quote.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And but is it possible that there's a smaller game plan that Trump's working on in Europe that basically is trying to solve the Ukraine war problem? And so he's got to get Europe to sign off on it. You can't. He can sign a bilateral agreement with Putin in 10 minutes, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Putin would say, "I want this." He'd say, "Fine." "I want bilateral trade agreements." Putin would say, "Fine," and it would be over. Except for Europe would say no.
It looks to me like Putin's just going to roll it up on his own, and then we're going to have to do some kind of decorative face-saving dance to, after the fact.
But if Trump made it easier on Putin, he could cut better deals.
Yeah, I think he's trying to make it easier on Putin, but he's doing it as quietly as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think they both know what the score is, and they both know where Europe stands, and I think that they're trying to roll it up.
Well, again, this goes back to some of the other things I said earlier, because I think all these things matter in the context of which Dave, you guys just laid out, right? You solve Ukraine by taking away all of their ability to have any hope that they're going to get rid of Trump. Okay? So they're all holding out hope that, well, the Supreme Court will strike down the tariffs, which would then give them a lifeline, or this, or this, or that. Their game is to destroy Trump's ability to govern inside the U.S. And if they can do that, then they can wait him out.
Except the Ukrainians have
And-
no mojo left for even prosecuting their own war.
Oh,
The only
agree.
thing
I agree with that.
only thing that's preventing people from understanding that is that it's winter in Russia and Ukraine.
But Jim, I think what I'm getting, so again, I agree with you. You're right. And that means then that what will happen is if they can get their definitive, we've beaten Trump, then that's when you'll see Germany and France and the UK officially move NATO in there. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing the United States can do to stop it at that point, and then they can have their war with Russia. That's what I think their plan is. It may not happen in 2026, but it happened in 2027 or 2028 because these people are rearming. They only say they're going to start rearming. No. When they announce that they're going to start rearming, they already have started the rearming.
But they really don't have the industrial or economic mojo to rearm. I mean,
Germany is a disaster.
That in
Germany,
itself is kind of
but Germany's a
fake.
disaster. But here's the thing: that's the way we see them from the outside. You know what they see? They see that the United States is a complete fucking disaster and basket case, and yet somehow everywhere we send our fucking military, no one stands up to us, and we go and it's over in a heartbeat. Like, as bad as we may be, I had Vince Lonsky on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we were discussing this very thing about, I mean, we as Americans feel the loss of potency, and so we're not, and Vince was like, I said that, and he was talking to a friend of his, and it was an old man this was years ago, and he said, so the United States has slipped this much, and everybody else is still down here. Doesn't matter. You might have slipped this much, but everybody else is still far behind you.
Well, this is sort of like when Reagan took office, we were not in trouble either. He had to just make a psychological adjustment when he took out Gaddafi's palace. He said, new sheriff, new rules, don't fuck with us. And all the white-suited, cigar-toting dictators all shut the fuck up.
And in many ways, we've been watching. One of the things that I've been watching, as I didn't want to believe this either. I used to be in the camp that the Russians can stand up to us and ball. I used to be in that camp. The same thing. We give it a watch. I used to believe all this Russian and Iranian propaganda, and then I watched Trump remind everybody exactly what it looks like when the United States starts to defend itself and starts to act in its own interest, militarily, financially, however, diplomatically. Have we not noticed what these guys have been pulling off just by standing up and going, that's enough? Like, if we have a bunch of awfuls running around Minneapolis, suicidal empathy empathizing with Somali grifters, we've got the exact same fucking problem all over Europe. Because Europe is nothing but a screeching, soon-to-be ex-wife that wants a fucking alimony payment where she's already stolen all our fucking wealth in the first place.
Damn, you're such a cunning linguist.
I am a writer. I do work.
I'm just trying to get part credit on the bingo tournament here. So
the only place where you lost me a little bit is this: I kind of think that Russia and the USA are and should be, at this point in history, natural allies.
Absolutely.
I think that Trump recognizes this.
Happening. I've been
and
saying this.
He's got to work at it surreptitiously because everybody else has got this cartoon, this comic book in their head about the Ruskies.
I agree. No, Jim, I'm with you completely on that. But in order, as you guys said earlier, in order for him to deal honestly with Russia, I think they cut a deal in Alaska. Now the question is, how do they get there? Now what they've been working out is the order of operations and how they get. This is the deal we want. Now what do we have to do? And again, you solve some of this problem by dealing with their infrastructure in places like Iran and Canada and Greenland and Venezuela, and they still have infrastructure in those places, and within the United States Senate, the Congress, at the governor levels, and all of this stuff. And so if you take the premise that Trump's goal, and I've said this before, and I think I said it the last time we were on together. There are 4 major areas of influence in the world, right? America, Russia, China, and Europe. 3 of the 4 hate Europe.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of
is
watching
Europe one of the
out.
3?
Yeah, well, okay, and everybody hates Europe. Yeah,
Yeah.
the self-loathing Europeans.
That's exactly self-loathing
Europeans.
I got a note from a guy yesterday. I've had him on my podcast before. He's an observer in Norway, and he says that Germany is about to go through a very severe energy crisis with natural gas.
I've been predicting that for 3 years.
They do not have enough. They do not have enough natural gas to run their electricity through the winter, and it's been a very harsh winter over there, as it is in the Northeast United States. And he said that we're going to be seeing brownouts rolling brownouts in Germany in the weeks ahead. Now, that's going to be a pretty big attitude changer for the Germans and for the EU.
Alice Vidal came out the other day, the leader of AFD. She came out the other day and she said, the minute we get into power, we're like cutting a deal with the Russians and the Americans, and Germany's going to become America's greatest ally. I'm like, and that had to like make the British, every head at MI6 must have went, and GCHQ must have exploded in a Terry Gilliam-esque animation. Like, dude, seriously, that's what they've been working against for like 250 years. America, Germany, and Russia getting together and saying, let's build shit and drink beer and eat sausage and shit. Yeah, no, like, come on.
And stop importing toffee.
Yeah, exactly.
No more Cadbury bars.
I had occasion to read all 17 years of my annual review because Bob Moriarty's binding them all, and I had to proof them all. It literally is 3,500 pages a book, 3,500 pages, and so it really preoccupied me. But one of the things I remember was there were no sections where I said, "Oh my God, I wish I hadn't written that." Right? There were no really do-overs. Now, which was it? I wasn't right. For example, my market prediction's been wrong for 10 years, but I'm convinced we're just completely fucked now. But what I predicted 3 years ago that was wrong, but I don't think it was poorly thought out, was that Europe was going to have a terrible energy crisis. It looked like it was teed up, and then all of a sudden they went through a very mild winter, and it saved their bacon. But what you're saying is now the bacon is about to get fried.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it.
I'm going to say that if anybody really wants to know what you should be buying American LNG exports. Like,
okay, so take. I was going to bring this up.
Have you seen the prices on LNG export?
No.
LNG, they're through the roof in the last 2 weeks. They've doubled.
Today I put in an auto purchasing command at Fidelity to buy FSCNX mutual fund. I've been avoiding investing in energy because I really do think the market's going to get cut in half minimally, and everything gets cut. Everything gets whacked when that happens. But I had to start taking increasing a position in energy. How is the price of oil weave into your worldview, Tom? Please,
I think,
is it going to go up or down? Who's using it? What's going to happen?
I think that oil prices were pushed way too low. I know.
Well, that's my bet.
Yeah, they can't make money.
I thought $58 a barrel was insane. I mean, when I look at the Brent crude chart, for example, I look at Brent crude twice a week, right? For my patrons, and I've noticed something recently in the last couple of weeks, which is that for the first time since I think like 2024, we've actually seen a 3-week uptrend in the price of oil. Like every time it goes up for 2 weeks, it then gets turned over.
I noticed the same. I saw it. Okay. I noticed the same thing. I've been watching.
So now we're sitting at 69.25. I don't think Trump wants to see the price of oil above $72, $73 a barrel. But at the same time, it needs to be high enough that everybody can actually can start making some money and they can start deploying capital.
It's up 13% in January.
Yes, it
13%.
That's a big one. Yep. 69.25 is trading. Brent crude's trading right now. I'm literally looking at it. That's like I have my quote screen like right below my the Zoom.
West Texas is 65.
Yeah, West Texas is trades at a $3 to $5 discount to Brent. Brent is where the most of the world
Okay.
Prices their oil against, right? Everything is priced as a premium or discount to Brent. So we have to take that away from the British, by the way, because the Brent contract is not a real contract. It's just a contract for difference. It's just a financial instrument. Like it's not a physical settled contract, unlike West Texas Intermediate, which actually is. Like if you buy a WTI future and you don't have the storage space, they're going to dump 1,000 barrels of freaking oil on your front lawn. Like they're going to ask you where they're going to put it. That doesn't happen in Brent crude, right? You buy a soybean contract in the United States. Oh, by the way, they're dumping 1,000 bushels of soybeans on your front lawn, right? So, but Brent is so it's a very good question, and I've been angry to all get out about the volatility in oil since the Biden administration, the Biden hunt has started. Like the volatility on a weekly basis in oil doubled. Like, weekly range as a percentage of price is 7 to 8%, has been running 7 to 8% for 4 years now. Now that's the most important commodity in the world that everything else is priced against, and it's moving 8%.
And it correlates with the economy, flat out. It's a linear correlation. Correlation.
And it correlates, and it also correlates, of course, with that level of volatility, right? Now, for comparison, gold generally trades about 1 to 2%, right? Range versus, as a function of price.
Not
That's
lately.
what I use. No, not lately. I agree. Same thing with silver. Silver's actually caught up.
And platinum.
Haven't looked at platinum, but gold and silver.
Platinum has gone bananas. Platinum's up 185% in a year.
Yeah.
So when you think of it in those terms, all I want to see is the volatility in oil drop. I don't really give a shit what the number is. I don't care what the price per barrel is. What I care about is watching volatility drop, which means the predictability can increase and we can actually get CapEx and we can get a more rational. This is to Dave's point about pricing and volatility and why he's convinced that the valuations are all fucked and everything else, is because we can't make heads or tails of what the fucking price of oil is supposed to be, because the shitting thing moves $2 a day.
Well, that's the pricing. That's the pricing issue. The other issue is, a lot of people, there's a lot of chatter out there about the Permian Basin peaking. That's the the remaining shale oil play in the United States.
And you say that, Jim, and one of my favorite stocks, which is a small Permian Basin trust company, literally Permian Basin Royalty Trust, is trading at $20 a share, up from $9, and pushing higher, and and paying, and not even paying dividends at this point. It's just a little royalty trust company, right? It owns some properties and operate. Chevron, there's an operator that drills the wells, and all you are is it's a passive income, instrument for investors, for owners of the trust, right? Usually that thing gets crushed like you wouldn't believe when it's not paying a dividend. When natural gas prices are in the shitter, natural gas prices are up slightly. They're actually decent. Piped gas in the United States is, I think, trading at like 375, 380 a million BTUs. It's not bad, but I mean, it usually takes like $4 plus to actually get decent revenue. And oil's been at $58 a barrel, and yet someone's in there buying royalty trust companies off of the bottom for the last 3 months. So to me, that's a leading indicator that something's going on here, because they're not paying huge dividends yet.
So now explain the precious metals market. And let me point out, there's one of two models to me. It's a binary question. One is we're either in a momentum-driven run that we all know how it ends. The other is that there's a fundamental sea change in the global currency system. Let me guess, something to do with London. But so where do you come down on that? Where do you come down?
I think that's pretty plain too.
Is it a reset? Is it a reset, or is it
I think it's a squeeze play. I think it's a squeeze play.
But is it resetting the price, or is this going to come back? Going to come down, in your opinion?
That's resetting the price. We're resetting the price, and squeezing the pricing leverage. We're
And
squeezing
where
one
are we in this reset? Where are we in this? Let's use
Inning
the
three.
1 to 9th. Okay, I was about to say which
inning
inning.
three. Now, innings 4, 5, and 6, they may get, in inning 4 and 5, they may get a bit of a, they may hit a couple of home runs, right? Or there may be
like the inflection point.
But we have, this is not a linear curve. This is a quad, not a quad, but to the third, maybe fifth power curve to get to the end. Like we may have at least 3 or 4 inflection points along the way. Like,
well, let me tell you what I noticed with platinum, which was so obvious. So I've been watching platinum for 2 years, and it was dead money for 10. And I'm not going to buy something that's dead money for 10 years. I'm going to watch it.
Right.
And what I noticed was in May, it finally flickered. It was like when the yuan depegged from the dollar for about 20 minutes, right? I go, what was that? What was that I just saw there, right?
Right.
And what was noticeable, not only did it sort of leave the 900 plus or minus 0 range,
right,
but the volume spiked up 5 to 10 fold.
Yep.
And it stayed up.
Yep.
And so I started hitting the buy button on platinum. I still don't have a full position, but I bought platinum 10 times starting in May, all the way up. My most recent was
I hit a small gold producer for the portfolio.
But the pickup in volume was
the pickup in volume.
But
when I started seeing
who was it? Who was buying it? Is the
central
question.
Banks, because now that it's been declared a tier 1 asset, and the bond market looks so shaky.
India,
they're divesting themselves of bonds to replace it with precious metals.
Or that's one part of it. It's actually simply put, they're just buying gold and silver and other things to shore up their existing bond portfolio. As I said earlier, why is Poland buying 150 tons of gold? Well, they're still on the zloty. They're not on the euro. That's a perfectly obvious. Oh, by the way, we're never going onto the euro, Donald Tusk. And oh, by the way, if we need to, we're going to go back. We're going to leave the European Union.
Tom, how many polls does it take to buy 150 tons of gold?
I don't know. How many?
I don't know. It's a joke waiting to happen.
It's a joke waiting to happen. I'm not that good, Jim. I wish I was. And I may be the most racist man in this group, but I can't come up with that.
I was trying to come up with a Holocaust gold teeth joke, but I couldn't. I was working on it.
No,
but
Tommy wins.
I wasn't going to even bring it up, but Jim broached that there was a joke.
How do you get 4 bald guys to sit on one stool? Turn it upside down.
Fuck you, Dave.
But is it a 3-legged stool?
Oh God!
Well, that's how you get 3 bald guys to sit on one stool.
Sit on each other's laps.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're playing musical stools, huh?
Oh God! There's an instrument for you.
And I didn't want to bring the Indians into this, but okay.
Well, the Indians just changed their laws that allow commodities to be brought in all their retirement funds, all their investment funds.
That's a big
use the silver. Like I see that as a city. I see that as a play by India to support City of London, because remember, here's the gig. What's the British pound? What was the British pound backed by? Was it ever backed by gold?
No,
silver.
sterling. Pound sterling.
Pound sterling. And so much of Britain's, so much of the problem now is, can they deliver the physical silver against the contracts that they've written in order to make their money off the cash flow of writing paper futures contracts against their silver. And now when everybody stands to deliver, they don't want to stand to deliver $115 an ounce. That's why I said this is all squeeze play.
But they can just default. They can just default on those contracts.
Yeah, they could. And then the LBMA would be gone, and then the United States and China would get exactly what they want, which is pricing leverage over all of the strategic metal space.
So the LBMA destruction by defaulting would be a big win then. Yeah, got it.
Oh yeah, and the LME would, they would both go the way of the dodo. And the 21st century industrial powers, the United States and China would have pricing control over all the industrial inputs, the copper and the silver and the gold and the nickel and the this and the that and everything else. And the level up is breaking the Brent crude contract and getting pricing control over oil.
By the way, the bullish case for platinum is phenomenal. And I've been unable to poke a hole in it. Platinum is in deficit production for 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
The above ground supply is at current prices $7-8 billion. The above ground supply, and no one has stashes of platinum that they find in their grandfather's attic, right? That's
right.
Not one of the metals you find. And based on the deficit production, the rate of consumption, and that we will run out of platinum in 2.5 years. That's the bullish case for platinum. Now, silver.
Now you know why NASA's going back to. Now you know why NASA's doing manned missions to the moon.
Is the moon made of platinum? I thought it was green cheese.
The gold and the silver and all the space metals, all the good metals. You want all the good metallurgy, the rhenium and the tantalum and the tungsten and all those metals. They're all out there.
Well, you can go for there's guys going for asteroids too. I'm not betting on them.
All those third row transition metals, they're all amazing.
They're on the moon,
property wise. But no, they're in the asteroid belt. But the moon is the
I was gonna say,
In fact, if you look at the platinum miners, they're in this big ancient asteroid hit. That's where you find the platinum.
Yeah.
Why is platinum? I mean, I know platinum and palladium, the catalytic converters, but why is it just a squeeze because it's a fucking thing to go after? Like silver, it seems like they're using it in the AI clusters, and whether or not it doesn't really matter if AGI is possible or not. People think it is, and so they're going. You're selling the shovels for the
hydrogen generation, Tommy.
Oh yeah.
Hydrogen generation.
I think
it's hydrogen generation catalyst. The 80-20 platinum ruthenium hydrogen generation catalyst is the best substrate.
Well, what are they using the hydrogen
and again,
energy.
Hydrogen's a great fuel.
Okay.
And here's the thing. Y'all can look up. Dave will know exactly what I'm talking about because he also chemist. But this is what I worked in for a long time when I did the nickel boron thing. Is there is something called the metal hydride bond strength volcano plot. You can look it up. It's very famous. So you'll see it's effectively a plot of all the transition metals and the metal hydride bond strength based on their position on the periodic table. And of course, platinum and ruthenium are at the top where their bond strength, the metal hydride bond strength is the lowest, meaning the hydride forms and then the metal hydride can
get released.
And then find another H, and then we make H2, and it releases with the least amount of resistance. Okay. Whereas metals like lead and thallium and antimony, they're all at the bottom of the chart. And it literally goes through a volcano plot. It goes up and then down again, and you can plot them all. And it's the key to understanding aqueous electrochemistry.
But again, one of the keys to platinum is that, let's say, if they're really, and this is, I've tried to poke a hole in the numbers. I've gone at every angle to try to find where the numbers are just raw, and I can't find it. One funky hedge fund manager at current prices could buy the entire world supply of platinum, which means it would take a moderately enthusiastic hedge fund to drive the price of platinum to the moon, to go to your analogy, to go to
What's
your
the current
model.
Price? What's the current price?
26.
Platinum itself,
26 or 28.
2,800.
See, I use PPLT, so I watch the PPLT price more than the platinum price. But it was
Platinum
at 900. It was
platinum's 26. Platinum futures are 26.23. Palladium's 20.33. Copper's 6.20 a pound.
That's bet on AI, I think. Correct?
Absolutely is because silver is not too expensive.
So I would worry about that based on the concern of the AI bubble, if that's the case.
Here's the gig. This is why I found Trump. This is where I found Trump very, very interesting when he told all the AI guys, he's like, if you want data centers, you build your own goddamn power plants. We do that. We have to build the power plants. Where he's like, no, actually, we can build the power plants ourselves, and they're going to do it. And if they're going to build their data centers,
it's an opportunity. The XLE is going to include Amazon and Microsoft and right?
Amazon
they're going to build
and
they're going to build those nuclear power plants and those data centers. They're going to build. They're going to co-locate them, and then you can build towns around the data centers as opposed to having to build the data centers.
Doesn't matter if the AI is a bubble. We're getting nuclear. Right. We're going too cheap to meter.
I've wondered if AI is being used as a Trojan horse for nuclear, not vice versa. Well, no, but people say, "Oh, we got to bring nuclear because of AI." I'm going, no, I think they used AI.
I think it's both. I think AGI might be possible, but if it turns out to be an illusion, it'll be like, oh no, so now we have power too cheap to meter, which Eisenhower wanted with atoms for peace.
Right,
so
exactly.
80 years later, so I don't think it's necessary. I think it could be a Trojan horse. I think they still are going to. They're trying to build, to take it from Warhammer. They are trying to build the machine god. So I do think that is an actual interest. I don't think that's a fake. But if we can't, I think it's okay. Whatever. Now we have nuclear.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with whatever it takes to get fucking nuclear.
I'm okay with cheap energy.
We should have been building nuclear power plants in every state back in the 50s.
I'll take it. And we should have moved them, and we should have built the Gen 1 reactors for making nuclear weapons, and we should have been building Gen 3s at the same time. We didn't need to make nothing but heavy light water reactors that were good at making plutonium.
Yeah, no, I'll take it.
The reason we went to these terrible fucking designs because we wanted the plutonium to make fucking bombs.
Yeah,
because the Department of Energy was always a wholly owned subsidiary of the Department of Defense.
Did any of you guys read Annie Jacobs's Nuclear War? Did anyone by chance read that?
Too scary for me.
It was scary. It was scary. I got to admit.
Yeah, no, that was
scary.
That was depressing to read.
And when I'm reading it, I'm sitting there thinking, do you really want Biden to have the suitcase? Oh. I'm sitting there going, the one thing you don't want is a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. And the other thing you don't want in a situation like that is to have it done by committee. So what I like to do is point to the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's not that Kennedy was a genius or anything like that, but what was critical about the Cuban Missile Crisis is Kennedy sitting there going, this is all on me. And we don't even know the names of the other guys who are talking to him, right? If you, right? But if you take Kennedy out, not because he was a genius or anything, but you just take him out, and it becomes a committee of faceless, nameless people, we would have been in a nuclear war.
Annie Jacobson's book's fantastical and it's definitely scary, and it'll get you. Raven Rock by Garrett Graff came out in 2019. I think it's far more horrifying, but it's not on its face value. It's just very.
Is that a novel or is it what is it?
It's a history of the continuity of government, like the physical structures, bunker, starting really under FDR and moving forward. That is far more terrifying because you see it has nothing to do with the president. Eisenhower's like, well, I'll be vaporized in the first attack, which is fine because we have the B team here and the C team, all the way down to, the number of the calculations of the number of dogs in each state that could be killed for food. Could the UPS trucks be used for more?
Is it an engaging read or is it important now? Will I be bored?
Dave, you and I like the same shit, all the SDI stuff. So I think you'll love it. But you go into that, I think it's much scarier. It's much more subtle. But the more you realize just how much of it is just like spreadsheets and flowcharts. It's so much scarier than does Biden have it. It's so much more just mechanical and dry and like next.
Well, but Andy describes it that way too, where it's where the response to the first launch from North Korea is formulaic.
Yeah,
that's the problem. It is pre-scripted, which is what makes it so terrifying.
Back to eyes, they called it the PSYOPs. They're like that. It was a SIOP, the Strategic Integrated Operation Plan, I think. But it was literally he had 1 through 13, and they'd hand you a flashcard and they'd be like, all right, so like essentially it came down to like, are you trying to like fight back or are you trying to bring the wrath of God? And it's like you had like 30 seconds to choose. And it comes down to like, basically, do you want us to hit each Soviet city with 11 nukes or 4? And it's like, what the fuck is the difference? And there is none. And anytime it's ever brought to the president, they all choose the worst one.
Well, the other thing that was spooky about Annie's book is she talked about the peak production of nukes.
Yeah.
And they were producing like 3 a day. They were proud of how many they were producing per day, and they completely lost sight of the fact that this was psychotic.
Right.
Not really psycho, because it doesn't really matter. What you blow the earth up once over or 10 times over, it's all the same. And all the ones we make now, by the way, we make less now, but all the ones we make now have something called dial yield. So it's like we make less, but they can all be dialed up from like 10 kilotons to 10 megatons. So it doesn't.
Well, the other risk is that we assume that sort of there's a natural human instinct to say, don't destroy the world. There are cultures that don't think that way. Of
course they don't.
We would, one of the things I like about Putin is I'm actually pretty confident that he would not start a nuclear war. I think the guy's got his shit together. But I don't trust, when our politicians are talking about nuking Moscow, I'm going, Jesus Christ, take sharp implements away from these people. They're dangerous.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
Completely.
So roundabout way
they're not
of
allowed
asking,
to run with scissors. They're not allowed to not run with scissors. They're not allowed to have scissors.
Right.
They get blunt. They get the little blunt safety scissors, right? So
put a helmet on them and tie them to the jungle gym, right?
But
Jim, you got anything to
I think Jim's eyes have been glossing over as we're talking about nuclear war.
No, not to that topic.
So let me ask you, Jim. I have a question.
To my satisfaction.
Me.
Pardon?
Doomberg is much more optimistic about the world.
I saw that. I listened to him.
And the question is, who's right?
He's the only guy who says that. He seems to be an intelligent guy, and
I know who he is. He is an intelligent guy,
and he seems to do a lot of actual hard legwork. Mathematical research and stuff. But I don't see it. Here's, I guess, my main gripe is that. He says there is an endless supply of oil out there. Well, North America has been thoroughly explored. Every inch of North America has been explored. And, if there's so much oil waiting to be sucked out of there, then, why are there no new oil fields? He also seems to flirt with the abiotic theory of oil.
He doesn't just flirt with it. Yeah,
I consider to be horseshit.
I'm in the same camp. I believe in abiotic oil.
You do.
So here's the question. Let's clarify that then. So is the abiotic oil theory tell you that the existing fields will keep replenishing?
Yes, more or less.
The alternative is that there's oil that we haven't gotten near, but technologically with some change we can get to.
Well, that's the part that I have a real trouble with, because there's something in geology called the oil window. And that is the strata underneath the mantle or in the mantle that you can go to get it. And if you're going deeper than, I think it's like 20-something thousand feet, the pressure and the heat is so great that the oil just would volatilize and would just gas out of wherever it is. And
then it would but then as it goes up, it goes up the column, it would condense. And that's the thing. I mean,
but there's no evidence. There's no evidence that any major oil field is replenishing. So
that's why I asked about the alternative.
Well, that's
other than
so
the
if
fact
it's
that
replenishing,
half of the oil fields that were supposed to have been tapped out 20 years ago are still producing.
But
this is the thing. Has everybody been lying for?
No, that's really only. That's not. No, it's mostly. I think mostly the issue is the. Ghawar field in Saudi Arabia, which famously was predicted to peak out and dry up, and it hasn't. But they're making they're taking heroic measures in pumping salt water into the strata to get the oil out.
Didn't they just discover?
But going back to North America, if there's so much oil, waiting to be found there, how come we don't find it?
Didn't they just find like 1 trillion cubic something in Texas?
No, that was Guyana, I think. Oh no, that
Texas. I think it was in
Texas. We haven't like really explored Alaska. There's so many, and then there's the other thing is so much of this is technology. I mean, what gets sold to us as peak oil. I've been down this route 1,000 times. Please, everybody who thinks that we have a peak oil problem, please do me the distinct pleasure of adjusting the current price of oil for inflation going back to the 1970s. And it's flat.
Really?
It's flat. An index oil for inflation. Hell, go to $100 a barrel and it's only up to like 20%. Right now, oil is cheaper than it was in the 1970s. When you know, and then what you'll see from a lot of people about this is you have to take everything into consideration. I've argued with Chris Martenson about this on Twitter. I've argued with Steve Sanangelo until I'm blue in the face because that guy is completely convinced of every amount. That guy like leans in every Malthusian argument about everything you've ever heard. We get a lot of their argument has been, well, we're getting a lot more natural gas liquids off of these fields, and we're doing barrels of oil equivalent now as opposed to barrels of oil, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's true. But look at the regulatory schema that we've been living under, which is that from a global governance perspective, for the last 40 years, they've been telling us we are moving off of oil. Carbon is evil. This is blah. And so what do you get? You're going to get a self-fulfilling prophecy of only certain types and kinds of oil exploration are going to be done. Moreover, go back to what I just was talking about earlier. What was I complaining about? Oil moves 7% of its price every week. It's impossible to do CapEx under those. If you're an oil major, these guys are doing carbon capture. They're having to do fucking diversify into hydrogen and this and that and all the other crap, as opposed to going out and doing what they're supposed to do, which is drill for oil. And
well, Doomberg, part of Doomberg's model is that every time oil becomes a good investment, they overproduce and it becomes a terrible investment. So that's a natural.
That's the commodity. That's the commodity cycle. That's the commodity cycle in a nutshell. Because of the hyper financialization of the way we actually do all commodity pricing, all commodity exploration is all the middlemen and the fucking banks take all the fucking profit. The investors get fucked. The producers get put on a cost plus business model. Unless they're a state oil company working for the old oligarchy, meaning Royal Dutch Shell or BP or Total or whomever, everybody else gets fucked. It's the same thing in beef. It's the same thing in fucking gold. Canadian banks have made more money off of gold mines than fucking gold miners have made in the last 70 years.
So what is the
so you don't like Mark Carney is my guess.
Yeah, I don't like Mark Carney. But here's the other thing. Why do you think the gold market today can actually be profitable for a lot of these mines at $1,500 to $1,700 an ounce? Not 2,000, not even 2,200, 15 to 1,700. Why? Because of the rise of royalty companies like Royal Gold and Franco-Nevada and others, Wheaton Precious Metals and others, who went out and bypassed the banking system to become partners with the exploration companies to put an investment in early and then say, we'll take a net smelter royalty off of the final production, as opposed to giving the money up front and then going short against the fucking industry because they're long the gold mine, which is how the banks have done it for years. This is the British fucking colonial extraction model. Go back to all the shit that Jim Sinclair used to write about in 2005, 2006, 2007. He said all this shit. He said, this is why the miners can't make any money, because of the non-recourse loan agreements and because of all of this shit. The banks were not their partners. They were their adversaries. And the minute we started to see royalty companies come in and partner with the banks or with the miners and the geologists, we started getting gold projects that didn't suck, silver projects that didn't suck. One of these days, we might find an asteroid hit on the planet somewhere where we can get a platinum mine that doesn't suck. I hope
it'll ruin.
It does take a long time to get a project started. So in a commodity cycle for me, I do not like the explorers, right? Because they're just too far from revenue. They're decades from revenue. And so the royalty trust model has always made sense to me. The idea is find someone who can print 6% a year. Just give me that person. Give me that company.
Yeah. Now, a company like Franco-Nevada, for example, doesn't give a big dividend, but they just keep adding to the balance sheet and the stock prices. You get your 6 or 7% a year because of stock price, a mixture of stock price appreciation and 1.5 points in dividends. Like that's
which
the way
is
they've
the
always run it.
opposite of Apple. Apple. Here's one for Apple. I just looked it up the other day. Apple's revenues are up 70% in 10 years. Its market cap was up 650%. And during that time, its balance sheet went to from a fortress balance sheet to deeply negative.
Mm.
The guys who own Apple should be scared because they're also about to start spending some serious money.
We'll see. Yeah.
But if we're talking about how entrenched all the the huge oligarchical, I guess, oil, Saudi Aramco or BP or whatever, Jim, do you gotta go?
I think that
No, you're good, dude.
I've had enough.
You're good. Yeah, no, we can wrap it up. I was gonna ask then, is the only thing that could possibly usher in nuclear be something under AI, which has like a national security weight to it? Because if we're talking about how entrenched,
I think there'll be plenty of pressure to get more nuclear going.
I think it's already the fuse has been lit on nuclear.
but that's what I mean. Is like because if we're talking about how strong kind of this like moated fortress, walled garden of oil is, the only thing strong enough to pierce that would, because we've had it forever. I mean, back to Eisenhower, he wanted it. Why do it now? And it seems like the only thing that's really sort of Trojan horsing it would be AI. Because that's
It's just one thing. No, I think we're going to need it. We're just going to need it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because it's not like it's not new. It's a sudden break. Like we've known that we can do
And
it.
it has gotten better. I wrote a book a few years ago where I said that I wasn't convinced that the capital was going to be there to finance it.
Sure.
And I'm still not sure. I still think that a lot of the stuff that's out there that represents capital is going to go up in a vapor.
Fictional.
We'll see. But
Well-
but otherwise, I think it's technologically gotten quite a bit better, and we have reason to believe that the reactors themselves will be safe and a pretty good deal.
The other headwind
for
we're going
now.
to face for everything is the demographic headwind. I've been paying more and more attention to the demographic. We're at 1.6. Remember when we were kids and the idea of ZPG was unattainable, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we got to get ZPG. Now we're down. We're way below ZPG, and we're not even the worst, right? China, Japan, they're a mess. That is going to be a headwind for wealth creation anywhere you look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I think that the basic principle that we're kind of locked into a comprehensive contraction
Right.
is pretty strong.
Right.
And it's gonna go on for quite a while.
Here's a question I have that I wanted to ask someone. It feels to me like the reports of how the world is going economically and the reality are so far out of line that I'm wondering if there is a concerted effort, not just random noise, in which the powers that be, I don't know who they are, think that a recession is largely psychological, and if they can keep the news cycle up, they can keep us from going from the negative effects of recession.
It could be. I mean,
I'd
the whole
agree
idea
to that.
of bank panics back
Probably
in like
true.
1905, right? It was like,
But
shut the fuck up, don't
but it
publish
won't-
it.
But
It won't
it's
work.
basically
It won't
just
work.
it's basically just fake it till you make it, and that doesn't really work.
That's
It never
that's the essence of Keynesian economics. Like the economy runs on animal spirits. Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it
why
feels
why deflation is evil is because people will stop spending if they feel that their money is going to be worth more tomorrow.
Yeah,
and
that turns out to be a horseshit argument. I mean, that's a real
it's a
horseshit
terrible
argument.
argument. It was a great.
Yeah.
Of course, it turns out like you could. Like because Keynes, the great economist John Maynard Keynes, again, city of fucking London, says, "Hey, the law of diminishing marginal utility doesn't apply to human beings. It's only like one of the two basic fucking things that governs all our goddamn behavior. It's the most anti-human, like human nature argument ever."
But the absurdity of fake it till you make it is that it ignores the role of recessions and downturns to purge the crap.
Right.
And so there's an interesting analogy. Sleeping. One of the reasons you have to sleep is because your brain fills up with debris from all the energy
it's
you
a
burn during
biological
the
defect.
day.
Yeah, no,
Right. So
washes it
you
all out.
die because your brain becomes a sewer during the
Yeah.
day as you burn
Yeah.
ATP.
My
Yeah.
brain's
if-
really
And
clogged
mine,
now
and
after
mine in
2 hours of
particular,
this.
it becomes a sewer right around noon or so every day. But
Yeah, Jim's trying to tell us.
Jim's made it very clear that he's not in the mood anymore, that he has a
2 hours
headache,
is enough,
that he has
guys.
cramps. He doesn't,
I
he's
don't
not.
know that any audience has the stamina for
Fuck
2
I'm
you.
hours
sure
of
they're
this.
I'm sure they're both still listening.
Fuck the, yeah. Fuck the audience, dude. Never,
no worries,
don't even consider
no
the
worries,
crowd.
guys. I've
Don't,
been talking for 3.5 hours straight. I'm good.
don't
Anytime you
even
guys want to get.
don't it. Never even entertain the crowd. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, in closing remarks, I hope Trump fucking napalms Minneapolis. That was
He's
just,
not going to do that.
that made me so
He's going to
happy.
finesse it.
No, I know he will. But if he had any balls, he'd bomb it. So, well, I mean,
Thanks,
dude,
Tommy.
that would be so. That would be. I mean, listen, whatever. Maybe I'm showing my.
I have a pre-neutered Boston Terrier puppy that I've renamed Big Balls.
Good. Send him to Minneapolis.
Send him to
Everybody
Washington.
listening, wherever. We'll wrap it up. Jim is the elder, and he gets to dictate, and so
Jim's a pussy. I could do
I've got
this
to
for
take my
hours.
Geritol.
All right, all right. Well, we'll wrap this shit up. Everybody, go in the description, follow their everything. It's in there, whatever. Guys,
Both of you. Both
yeah,
of you.
both of you guys listening, thank you so much, and guys, thank you as always. Appreciate it. Till next time, thank you so much. Hey guys, real quick, you guys know Basil Baz, ARC, the Association for the Recovery of Children. I just did a fundraiser with them the other day, and I'm going to put this on to every episode I do. They are special forces veterans who physically rescue trafficked children. They have since 1993. They have a 100% success rate. They do not take salaries. They all have day jobs, and they literally rescue sex trafficked children. Donations to them are a tax write-off. I get nothing from them, and they have not asked me to put this on. I've included this little clip on episodes for the last year or so, and I'm just re-recording it because I just got to meet him just 2 days ago for future. It's November 25th, 2025, but this will be on every episode now for the next year. And there is nothing better you can do with your money. If you can support them for even $5, please do that. They truly are doing the Lord's work, and I think we all have an obligation to do that. Thank you so much.
Higher ultraviolet exposure is associated with lower mortality. The United Kingdom is a high latitude and low sunlight country. Researchers there collected data on over 360,000 participants in a study of UV exposure via solarium use. When compared with non-users, solarium users had 15% risk lowered of all-cause mortality, 23% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality, 14% lower risk of cancer mortality, and a 12% lower risk of non-cardiovascular, non-cancer mortality. In other words, all other causes. Quoting the researchers, our study adds to the growing evidence that the benefits of UV exposure outweigh the risks in low sunlight environments. A link to the original publication is available in the box below the video. Get some UV light this winter. Immerse yourself in the tranquility of the blue. Visit a Blue Room soon. www.blueroom.com.
Hey guys, a huge sponsor of the show is Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food. Clayton lives down in Georgia. He's been on the show before. It's actually nearby where I went to college. They are a huge sponsor of the show. They give me some money every month, even when I don't sell enough to warrant that paycheck. Meaning that the show is not free. It's just that it's free for you. If you guys need prepper food, or if you're just interested in supporting the show, I'd please ask you to go to the link in the description. Go to Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food, promo code TPC for 10% off. 72 servings per pail, 25-year shelf life. These things are, they double as dumbbells. Pasta Primavera, cheesy potato soup, mac and cheese, loaded baked potato casserole, chili mac, cheddar broccoli soup, cheesy lasagna, teriyaki rice. You can get banana chips. There's also raspberries, strawberries, and apples. There's a bunch of freeze-dried fruit, or you can even get seeds to plant your own garden. It's not a bad thing to have. It's like gold or ammunition. It's a good thing to have. It's a bad thing if you have to use it, but it's good. It's good to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. So that's what I'd say. And if you just want to support the show, please go to the link in the description. Please go support them because they support me. Thank you so much, guys.